Hello there, I'm Blackbright, broadcasting out of the UK into your homes. Welcome to my channel. Well, I'm going to talk about a very sensitive subject today, and it's about grief, and it's about when somebody close to you dies. And I am going to go through my initial grief process. I don't know if it is a grief process, I don't know what it is. But I'm just going to tell you like it is, because I think that is the best way. If you want to subscribe to my channel, you're not always going to get things like this. You're going to get a host of other things. But I do hope you'll click the like button. I do hope you'll share it for anyone who needs it. I got the call on Sunday to say that my mother passed, and I was in a state of shock, first of all, because I've been waiting, as you know, every single day since I did that video for the call. And it doesn't really translate in my behavior because I'm kind of a closed book to a certain extent, and I hold my feelings quite close to my chest. So when I first got the call, I was in a state of shock. I started trembling. I listened to my niece relay the circumstances of her death and how and what it was like and that kind of stuff. And I was fortunate I was, in company, so I was able to be held and comforted for a little while. But it's weird because after I heard, I kind of went quiet and I started thinking about it. I kind of felt a bit peaceful. And then I kind of started thinking about my mum and, how I should feel. And after that initial weeping, I didn't feel like crying again. I felt quite normal. And I got through the weekend, and then I didn't want to tell my workmates. I didn't want to tell anyone outside my family. For me, it was that private moment. I know there are people who place it all over the Facebook and everything, pictures of their dying parents and goodness knows what. But for me, when it happened, I didn't feel like sharing it with anyone. I wanted to process what was happening. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because people often say, oh, my mum died. I know what you're going through. But they can't. No one can know what anyone goes through because everybody's experience is different. Everybody's relationship with their mother is different. And you can't say, I know what you're going through just because your mother has died. And so I think if I was to write a book about death, the first thing I would say people not to do or not to say is, I know what you're going through. My mother has died. I know someone who's died. My sister has died. My brother has died. Someone has died. It's really not consoling. I also think the worst thing someone can say is, oh, how old is she? 94. Oh, she's had a good innings. I think that is insensitive. Because regardless of how long she's been on this earth, as far as I'm concerned, I would like her to live as long as possible. The Queen is still up and going around at 94. Do they say she's had a good innings? No, because she's walking around and she's enjoying life the same way. And that is how I see my mum. I don't see my mother as having a good innings. Because that means, to me, you're saying to me, she's had a good life. It's now, it's about time she died. Or, she's had a good life. You would expect her to die. So I think it's quite insensitive when people say that. And I don't care how they justify it. I do think it is quite insensitive because you're dealing with somebody who is close to the individual. And I think, like I said, everybody's experience is different. If you don't get on with your mother, you're going to have a totally different experience. Not everybody's mother has a loving relationship. I had a kind of a symbiotic relationship with my mum. It was kind of up and down and in and out, and one minute I felt as though I was forever trying to prove to my mum how much I loved her. That's how it felt. And I always felt as though I was trying to please her in some way, on some subconscious level. My mother's opinion always came into my head. So I'm not quite sure what that feeling was, or what it was that I felt. I know I loved my mother, and that is why I say I'm not quite sure if I loved her in the way she wanted to be loved, but I know I loved her. And I think when you lose somebody who is very close to you, all you can do is say, look, if you need a call, I'm here. Because I think more than anything, I think that is what people want to hear. Because when they're processing the loss, I don't think it's about, I think people feel as though they have a duty or an obligation to say certain things. And then they're not quite sure what to say, and they feel kind of uncomfortable. And the person who is experiencing the loss can pick up on that. So I would think that when we're dealing with grief, I would suggest that if you have a friend or a relative who's lost someone, just say, look, if you need anything, I'm here. And I think that is enough. I don't think it's wise to say, I know what you're going through. I must know what you're going through. Or you must feel this, or you must feel that, because you do not know how you must feel. For the most part, I feel quite normal. And then I might I might think about her, and then the tears might fall. But for the most part, I don't feel overwhelmed with grief and sadness. I almost have a sense of calm. I think maybe it's because she took a long time to pass once we knew she was palliative. And I think maybe it's because I was expecting the call nearly every day for the past 4 weeks. And I think maybe it's because I'd kind of accepted that I'd lost her. I think partly it's because I spoke to her when she could hear and she had her full faculties. I think partly it's because of acceptance. And I think it's partly because I withdrew at a time when I needed to. And so the phone call was a mere formality. I'd already lost my mum because she wasn't the funny person, the person who laughed, the first person who was always running jokes and stuff. I feel as though what I saw the last time I saw her was just a vessel. That wasn't really my mum. And now I understand what they mean by the spirit of a person. The spirit of a person is not the flesh. The spirit of the person is what they leave within you, and what that essence that is within you, and no one can take that away. When they say you have memories and you have those things that I kind of think that with my mum, I just think I can look at a photograph of her and I don't cry. I might talk to her and then something might jolt me, and then a couple of tears might come down. But I haven't had all this bawling thing, and I haven't had, for me, I would have thought I would have responded in such a different way. I would have thought I would have been totally overwhelmed, totally devastated. But it's almost as though, I've acknowledged that she's gone. And I know when I go to her house, I won't see her again. I know I won't hear her squeals of laughter and hear her jokes. And maybe it will come down on me in a flood after the funeral. I don't know. So that's why I don't know if I'm in denial. I don't know if I'm in a form of acceptance. I don't know where I am at the moment. But I just thought it was important that when you're dealing, when you want to support people who have lost someone, it's very important to be sensitive, because at that point, those people can feel fragile in different ways. And regardless of how strong they look or what kind of front they put on, you do not know what's happening inside. So I really would say that forget all of the efforts to try and do things. I mean, maybe you can send a card, you can always send a condolence card, you can always send flowers. But I think, like I said before, if you need to speak, I'm on the other end of the phone. If you need to come round, I'm here. That kind of thing, I think, is very useful. I found people who said that to me, I found it really, really moving. Somebody said to me, you need looking after during this time. And I tell you, it touched my heart, because I was thinking that, while I have family, they are kind of scattered and everybody's going through the grief at the same time. So it's hard to kind of support people in when you've got such a big family. It's hard to support people in their separate modes of grief, which is different from yours, because even though we're one family, we all had a different relationship with my mother. So it's very hard to know how to support people. But like I said, it is about saying, if you want to come for a hug, come for a hug. If you want to just come and sit down and be quiet, that's fine. You don't even want to say anything. And I think those are the kind of things that are useful when someone dies. Yeah, I did say the only thing that I found very difficult to digest at first was the fact that they said they can't embalm her because of the coronavirus. And in my head, I'm saying she doesn't have the coronavirus. And the funeral directors are saying, well, she wasn't tested for the coronavirus, so how do they know she didn't have it? And then I thought to myself, well, that's how the numbers increase, because if they're not testing people to say they haven't got the coronavirus, we know my mother didn't have the coronavirus. She wasn't ill in that way. She didn't have no cough. She didn't have anything. So, and the GP knows she didn't have the coronavirus. And because she wasn't tested, and we know how rare these tests are, they cannot categorically say she didn't have it. Because they cannot say she didn't have it, that means she cannot be embalmed and she cannot be dressed. So in other words, the last time I saw my mother is the last time I saw her. Whereas some people, they'll, when they're embalmed and they're dressed and they look beautiful and everything, you can kind of have that last time to say goodbye. So we won't get that. So that part was a bit unsettling. But I've since learned that the embalming process is very invasive. It's not a nice thing to happen to the body. And so on second thoughts, I wasn't really going to, I think, because when I saw her before she died, she didn't look like how I would have liked to have remembered her. I think I would have liked to have seen her dressed and embalmed and made up. But that is for my purposes. But I think because I'd made peace with my mum by talking to her, telling her how much I loved her when I knew she could hear, even though she couldn't do much else, I think I'm okay with that. And I'm quite happy to say that I can't, if I go to the funeral and the casket is closed, I'll accept that she's inside it. And I just wanted to share that with you, because I know some of you have been asking how my mother is. And she's gone to be with the angels, with her husband, and She said she's going to fly over Buckingham Palace and see the Queen. So she'll probably be doing that. She'll probably be fasting in my business, looking in my house, seeing what I'm doing. It's really weird because I kind of, sometimes I think, I don't know how the spirits work. I don't know when somebody dies how it works. You know, when they say you've got guardian angels. And I'm always told I'm protected. And I know I'm protected. So when I think about my mum, I'm thinking, oh, is she watching me? I've got no clothes on. Is she watching me in the bath? Is she watching me when I go to bed? Is she doing this? Is she doing that? And I kind of think, you know, I'm not quite sure how spirits work, but I know she's at peace, and I just wanted to share that with you. And that's all for now. Bye-bye.